Get Bob a minute. I've seen Bob show up in the last 30 seconds.
Bob, late already.
What's on the radio right now? What we're hearing?
What he missed.
Yeah.
Hey, are we on yet?
Almost.
How are you? Hey, Bob, how are you?
Get another chair. Y'all bring the chairs over here. Bring another chair. I know kids can start saying, look,
Tell them who we are, Bob.
All right, hello folks, welcome to the Saturday afternoon edition of the Wild Bob Ronnie Show. We're pleased to have you with us, and we hope we'll do something that will tickle your innards, stimulate your thoughts, maybe insult you, maybe get you up off your rear end to do something about some of the problems that we have in this area. So we're real pleased to be with you. We've got a full house here today. We've got my partner in crime, Ronnie,
That's
over on
me.
my right.
That's me.
We got another holdover from the 1960 era, Jerry Kidd on my left.
hello.
And got R.L. Henson on my right.
R.L. Henson there in your middle.
Yeah, there you go. So we're in pretty good shape for the shape we're in.
Yeah, yeah, we are.
Now, what have any of you out there in radio land or on the internet, if you got anything that is a bugging you, don't call me, I'll call you.
566-1450. What's the other?
Right,
562-3557.
Right, or you could call 562-1450.
Yeah, but
Oh, that'll get the office.
They'll just have to
That's the
tell us.
office number.
Well, yeah, they'll just have to tell us we got a number. That is if the lines get all filled up, you know. So Jerry, how's it been with you this week?
Great, wonderful. Really enjoyed watching our esteemed mayor on TV Wednesday night.
yeah, that
was real interesting.
I forgot something. Hold it, I got something here I'm supposed to do. Just hang on here. Just,
Right, oh yeah, we're
just
gonna
hang
give you a
on
little
here.
treat here, folks. Now you can come up here, when was it, Wednesday night?
Here we go.
Okay, good stuff, folks.
We have a press release here from the city of La Follette. Let me read to you. It says, during recent La Follette City Council workshop meetings, there have been some discussions on North 11th Street concerning damage to the roadway. The city of La Follette would like to take this opportunity to clear up any misconceptions that could have occurred during the last few days. Any comments made by the mayor, council members, or employees representing the city of La Follette were not intended to reflect negatively on any member of the Arnold family. The city of La Follette and the Arnold family have always had a good working relationship, which we plan on continuing in the future. Mayor Stanfield did not give Mr. Jimmy Arnold permission to haul dirt from North 11th Street. In fact, Mr. Arnold did not ask for permission from anybody at the city of La Follette. Mr. Arnold asked Mr. Tony Lamar, who owns the property at the dead end of North 11th Street, for permission to get dirt from his property. The only conversation Mr. Arnold and Mayor Mike Stanfield had was concerning low-hanging cable lines. The city of La Follette this cleared up any misconceptions or misrepresentations that may have occurred during the past several days. Now, this was released at 4:30 p.m. February 6th, 2014. So we're just always try to be good citizens here at TV and Wild Bob and Ronnie Hillbilly Television, and I just want to put that out there and do our civic duty. We're always open to doing good things to promote better understanding.
You keep me searching and I'm going home. I've been mining for a heart of gold. Keep me searching for a heart of gold.
I'm glad that got cleared up.
We've got a trucking expert with us here today. I would like for him to discuss the responsibility of who repairs roads, who fixes roads, who can keep trucks on or off roads, and what is the liberty of a dirt hauling company in using city streets.
I believe there be people take issue with the word expert, just call a truck driver and whatever.
Well, you went to the third grade now.
Finished the third grade.
I think you
Yeah.
finished the third grade.
Last 4 years of his life.
They probably held graduations for third graders in them days.
Yeah. So they could go ahead and get married.
Or to go to one of them community colleges, you get out of third grade.
Free of charge.
Well, I heard he was shaving in the third grade. Did you hear that?
Well, he was gonna marry a teacher, but he was too old for her.
Oh, okay.
Well, these fellas don't even talk behind your back, they'll talk right in front of you, you want to.
Ain't nobody can see us.
Okay. The trucks, anytime you have a truck and you have it tagged like in the state of Tennessee, and I'm sure those trucks are licensed and whatever, if they're entitled to travel any public roadway, no matter where it's at, providing it's not posted. Now, if it's posted, that's a different story. I don't know if 11th Street is posted or not. If it's not, those trucks, I don't know what the actual configuration of them are, but I'd say they're probably legal to at least probably 72,000 pounds that they're allowed to haul. And the street should be designed to handle it. But I don't think, in my opinion, if I was hauling on that road legally and I was asked to repair it, I believe I'd object to it. I don't believe I would buy a tag and whatever and travel on a road that's not posted and then pay to have the road rebuilt. I'd say, from my personal opinion, the city will redo the road themselves. They can send the bill. That's about the end of it, I'd say. If they want to pursue it, I'd say the trucking company will probably go to court before they'll pay for rebuilding a road that
So
they're legally entitled to travel on.
This whole issue of trucking company being responsible for this road or street, if it is not posted, is a moot issue, moot question. That they're not responsible for paying for the repair of that road. And any city councilman or mayor who says they are responsible is not familiar with the law.
That's probably true.
There's I believe, was there something said about low-hanging lines or something
Well,
like
what
that?
I find the most amazing thing about this whole statement from the city is that these two guys met up there on a dead-end street, not exactly one of the most major travel roads in the city, and the only thing they talked about was low-hanging wires, and nobody ever stopped to say, you know, wonder if there be any trucks driving through it under these wires. I find that amazing. I'm glad we got it straightened out, though.
Yeah, I'm glad it got cleared up. I'm really am.
On low-hanging wires are required if they cross a public road are required to be 13.6.
Well, I don't believe they've been catching any cars on going through there,
Yeah.
so they must have been wondering if it's gonna have taller cars, you reckon? I mean, you're up there in the middle of nowhere talking about wires hanging down, it just makes sense. You're thinking they're gonna make cars with big wheels on or something.
There's
Or you might have some indication there's a truck gonna go through there.
okay, I see what you're saying. There is wires, or there are wires on these public streets that are below 13.6. And what we do, we try to know where they're at and avoid those streets. Go around instead of trying to turn. And, every now and then you'll catch one on a hot day or something like that. Most of the time, it's a telephone wire.
Well, they had this
You
problem here.
don't set anybody on top of your truck with a stick.
Well, we've been known to do that.
They had one guy, local trucking company, wiped out about 14 red lights here one day, didn't he?
Them red lights are 13.6. We're supposed
Well,
to
once
be.
he got, he wasn't that high and he got done with them. I don't know how high he was when he started.
Well,
You know, there's all kinds of state and federal regulations governing streets, sidewalks, lights, stop signs. You know, I don't know if I've ever seen a legal stop sign in the entire city of Apollo. And there are specific state and federal regulations governing the placement of stop signs. We got little stop signs that are about 2 feet high all over the place.
Yeah.
And ain't no one of them. If you run that stop sign, you get you a lawyer, you got that beat if they write you a ticket. Because there ain't no stop, legally there's no stop sign there if it's not legal. They're up to standard.
I heard about a little self-representing attorney once upon a time, a layman attorney, I guess you'd call him. Kind of embarrassed the city terrible on something like that, didn't he?
Oh, it was the Highway Patrol wrote that ticket.
Yeah, well.
And I like to say that those traffic lights down there at Caryville at the interstate, I am responsible for those going up. Because if a layman could walk in and point out that a stop sign about a foot high off the ground in the ditch is not a stop sign. And they can't write tickets for it.
well, that's for drunks that are running up and down the ditch, you know, so they can find their way home.
They can run into it.
Yeah, you don't want to get slapped in the face when you run into the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and the whole world is besieged by technicalities. Technicalities on stop signs, signal lights. If you got a lawyer, you can get out anything on technicality.
Well, no doubt, our current mayor was head of the street department. He brags about this for 30-something years. So all these illegal stop signs, hanging power lines, hanging phone lines, roads too weak to carry legal loads, I think goes back to his administration of the city department for 30-something years.
Well, you cannot put responsibility on somebody to know about all that thing. That sort of thing hanging off the back of a garbage truck.
Well, a man who runs a department ought to read his manuals. I mean, it don't take 30 years to read a manual and make sure you got stuff straight and right out there.
Right.
And now we're running around like chickens with their heads cut off, wondering why our roads are falling apart,
Well,
our lines are too low.
You gotta see which way the wind is blowing before you make a decision. Which way the political wind is blowing.
I'm glad I got out of politics.
Illegal now, huh?
Yeah. Had my shots.
I found out some good news
What's
today
that?
from our county on the construction of the new jail.
Okay.
They do have enough money to complete it, unless everybody that's working and providing materials want to get paid.
Oh, well, that's always a snag.
That's the only catch. And the solar panels, by virtue of being able to sell their electricity at a retail price, is about breaking even right now.
Is that counting loan payments or?
Well, you know, this sort of thing seems to boomerang and gain momentum, so I think we ought to take a look at it in probably another 6 months.
I think maybe we ought to go ahead and sell our interest in solar panels and get into something else.
Well,
Maybe switchgrass or something.
We had a candidate, for public defender coming up in the August election on TV the other night, and, I called in and told him, said, if you'd been doing your job, we wouldn't have to build this new jail. Get these people out, get these people out of this trouble, we wouldn't have to be building these new jails. And turns out, when I asked that question, they had me off the air. So I get censored even when I call in.
Well,
that,
the public defender, I honestly believe, as I've mentioned before, the only purpose of any government agency is to separate people from their money. And I believe, as far as the public defender is concerned, you know, they had one poor public defender, he worked so hard, they found out in 2 weeks he had done 400 and some hours of work on the case.
that's pretty good, ain't it?
Yeah, so that's what he billed the government for, was 400 and some hours work on the case, and you only had it for 10 days. That's 40 hours a day that he worked on that case.
That sounds like government work.
Yeah.
You know, like when they used to work on the pipeline up there in Alaska. People were putting in 172 hours a week, and there's only 168 hours a week.
Right, yeah.
You ever work fast?
One thing about this public defender that I found out the other night was people are having to pay a fee to have a public defender. Now, I didn't know that was, you know.
Well, that's only if you can afford to pay, ain't it?
Well, yeah,
If you
but,
can't afford to pay, they just miss the case.
yeah. Well, I swear up then I didn't have any money at all. I was broke.
Well, now,
I say, Judge, I'm broke.
I had some paperwork in my office, and I'm not gonna mention any names right now, will maybe later on, where one of our citizens in this county, in this city, was hauled into court for a criminal violation.
Didn't have anything to do with goats, did it?
No, nothing to do with goats. This was misrepresentation of work or something of that nature. And this man swore an oath, signed a paper, that he didn't have any money. And accompanying this statement that I have are statements from the county, where the county paid him over $26,000 that year to work on county vehicles. So he wasn't able to pay an attorney, but he was
Now, how did he afford to buy a city license?
I don't believe he had any.
Didn't have any?
Have any city
Well, that
license,
certainly
county
does count.
license, either one.
That kind of cuts down on expenses.
Well, yeah, and also the work was performed in a residential district.
You didn't fix lawnmowers, did he?
No,
Okay.
they didn't fix lawnmowers.
I just want to make sure there wasn't no competition there.
There's some tractors and bulldozers.
Right, trucks and things of that nature. So I have the paperwork where it was sworn to that he was indigent. I think that's what it is.
Indigent?
Huh?
Indigent?
Indigent.
That's what we are.
I know it's what I am too. But getting back to your public defender, and I kind of got off the subject when I said the only purpose of a government agency is to separate people from their money. That is the public defender's job. He gets these people put on probation, and they're on the hook for $50 a month. probably the rest of life. I know one person that's been on probation for 13 years.
Well, what was they, found that woman over in Union County that'd been paying, $25 a week for 13 or 14 years.
Yeah.
She didn't know she could quit. She just kept sending the money in.
Well, folks, if y'all wanna send any money in to us, just go ahead and mail it down to, what is that number, 1814 Jacksboro Pike.
Yeah,
And
if you wanna contribute to our tree program, our carbon footprint ratification, we take money on that too. If I can remember what the, let's see, it's, citizens against, I forgot what it, but just make it out to, just abbreviate it, CASH, and send it to Mayor Bob, and we'll put your name on the tree.
We'll make sure, you know,
Or send money into the CCCP, that's Campbell County Conservative Party.
right, yeah, there you go.
Russia ain't using CCCP anymore, so I thought I'd
Okay,
adopt
well,
it.
you know, all of the Russian CCCP, they've migrated over here and gone into the,
Obama.
Obama administration and
The Green Party.
Green Party.
the preservation of animals and trees.
You know, red and green are complementary colors.
Right, yeah.
It's handsome.
It's interesting listening to all this. You know, it makes one stop and think about some of the stuff that you hear and try to sort it out. I guess there's a lot of what I would consider to be useless stuff. I'm sure everyone has heard about PETA trying to get approval to put up a monument where some chickens got killed in a truck wreck. I think everybody.
PETA, eating tasty animals.
Yeah, I think everybody's heard of that one. There's plenty going on. I heard, and I hadn't verified it yet, but I heard that the Small Arms Treaty got voted down.
It's amazing, ain't it?
Well, that's
Yeah.
by the Senate, the Senate that votes on the
Yeah,
treaty.
it'll come back up.
Yeah,
We got
46 of them voted in favor of it. That's
We
what's
got another
scary.
expert.
46 of them.
Okay.
Voted for it.
Yeah, 44 Democrats and 2 of those independents
We've got an expert here.
voted in favor of it, and that's scary.
We got an
Yeah.
expert here to make a little statement. We'll take but a minute. You may know this expert.
Vaughn Digger Wilson. Been here off and on for over 30 years in the same spot. Pumping propane, doing repairs on containers, heaters. Not the only one in the county that'll do you a repair on your tanks if you need it. I sell propane gas, liquid propane, and I've got plenty of competitors, and I can easily compete with them. That's grills, backup heat, substitute heat, grills, campers, motor homes, you name it, and if it comes in through that door, I can take care of it. I'm here Tuesday through Friday, 8 till 5, and Saturday, 8 till 12. They could call me at 562-54 Vaughn Digger Wilson.
562-5444 there.
Does that sound familiar to you?
What?
Does that sound familiar to you?
562-5444?
Yeah.
Sounds like I'll be in the middle of the road and sawmill hollering on it.
Hey, that's where that phone's located.
And that's a good man. You can't find a better man than Digger
He's
Wilson.
out car trading today, I
Right.
think.
He hauls kids
Right.
to Cincinnati on a regular basis, never gets paid for it, does it all out of his own pocket. Helps them families get up there and back to be with their kids. He's a tremendous human being.
Oh, he's there to do that, and, like I say, he doesn't blow his horn either that he does that, you know, and there are a lot of good volunteers, that work for the shrine. I never will forget, I got in trouble. Of course, I stay in trouble, you know, a lot of times. I got in trouble back when we first went on the air. I asked Ronnie if he knew the difference between a mason and a Shriner. And well, he said he didn't know the legal definition. I told him, I said, well, a Shriner was just a drunk mason. Or I can't think of his name.
Speaking of drunks, Bob, do you know the difference between a drunk and an alcoholic?
Oh, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
What?
A drunk don't have to go to no meeting.
There you go.
Well, let me tell you, I don't think I told you, I forgot exactly when this happened, but other night I got a call. I had some people who had had a blowout over on I-75 about 2 miles south of the Clinton 122 exit. And they did not have a spare. So I happen to know what it took for their vehicle, so they said, could you round us up a spare? I said, yeah, I can, which I did. So I carried it over there, and they had already called a company to come and jack it up and change the spare, you know. So I left it there with them. I went down to Raccoon Valley, turned around, come back, parked on the other side of the road until the service truck came. I made sure they had that they were okay, you know, and then I came on back. Well, as I was coming up Jackpur Pike, just about across from Taco Bell, there was a car behind me that had no lights on. It was a late model automobile. And that car passed me, and we both evidently passed a highway patrolman sitting on the highway there. Let's see, how do we do this?
I don't know.
How do we do this now?
That red button there probably.
Well, wait a minute, don't hang it up. Hold on, we're gonna have to.
Hold on, we're trying to learn how to work this thing. If it's more complicated.
Now hang it up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
how are you?
Is this Bob?
Yeah.
I didn't know you come on Saturday.
Oh yeah, we you know, we're not prejudiced.
We got a new phone, don't know how to operate it.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna tell you, we're a lot safer in Campbell County. They caught that man that stole the candy bar.
Well, now, we can sleep now. They got that far goat man off the streets,
Yeah, they
too.
got all those dangerous people off the street.
So they'll tell everybody we can sleep in peace tonight. I did last night.
You know, if they get Martha Stewart back in the big house, we'd all be
Right,
all.
yeah, they get Mark Stewart locked back up, we'd be safe.
I thought that was so funny. I just had to call and let you know.
Appreciate it.
Thank
They
you.
chased him for a candy bar.
See ya.
Hey, thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you. It's right there,
They
Bob.
might line that boy up and shoot him. A candy bar.
566-1450 and 562-3557. And that guy you were trying to think of earlier was the late great John Cable.
Right, John Cagle,
Yeah.
John Cagle was the one that really took offense to me saying that
He ended up being one of your closest buddies,
that
didn't
a
he?
Shriner wasn't anything but a drunk mason, but finally John learned that we say a lot of things in jest, you know, and
He learned to tolerate food.
he finally got accustomed to our way of throwing things out there, and he realized we did everything we could, and we do everything we can to help these organizations, especially the Shriners. And but did you hear about the great BB gun robbery?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Tell us about it. That ain't the one where they got the candy bars, is it?
No, they got $600.
Well, I'm gonna get me a BB gun.
They got there's a couple of juveniles came in with a mask on and everything, and they had a BB gun,
Yeah.
and they demanded that the register be open. They finally got the register open, and they took off with about $600 walking, you know. They got caught, and then got the money retrieved. But that was my son-in-law that they took the BB gun in his face.
Oh.
I guess they better be glad they didn't walk up and stick it in my face, 'cause I would've recognized what it was, and I would've tore somebody's head off right there.
Yeah, you don't wanna rob no guns from a blame BB gun.
Yeah, the great BB gun keeper. But, you know, it's, I don't know, you know, what we're gonna do, you know, if we put all of our time and energy into rounding up goats, whether we'll ever be able to, do anything about anything serious.
Well, you know, we got them candy bar sleeves out the street too, here.
We need a city and county goat department to, govern this goat problem.
Well, we have
Right,
too
right.
busy
Yeah.
counting vermin.
We could hire 3 or 4 more relatives,
Yeah.
if we open up a goat department
Right,
down at the
yeah,
county
we-
courthouse.
We need some type of oversight on
Yeah,
that, you know.
yeah.
That's the reason I can't get elected, I ain't got enough
Right.
relatives to hire.
Right.
Goats are out of control.
Well, of course, the same fellow that complained about the goats, you know, I may have mentioned, I had a chicken that hatched 7 little chickens off, and, they could get through the 2-inch squares on the fence. But the chicken couldn't, the mama hen, but they went out there in, my very good neighbor's field, not his yard, but his field, and, he called the animal control people on those 7 little chickens being out there in his field.
Get a chicken infestation.
God.
Should have charged him for fertilizing that field. But back to the,
Well, did
public
you get
defender.
did the hen get her chicks back?
huh?
Did the hen get her chicks?
So
some
they
chicks
come back in, they just
Oh.
went over for a little bit, you
But
know.
they did come back.
Yeah, and,
And, this guy called the law
well, yeah,
on them.
call
You
the
know,
law,
I'll
call the
tell
law.
you, I don't know how we can have wild chicks running around there.
Sure can.
That could be threats.
Right, what I think I'm gonna do every time I see some crows and some blackbirds and some sparrows land in my field, I think I'll call the animal control people.
Call
There you go.
TWRA,
Hmm?
call TWRA.
That's what I ought to do.
Yeah.
They're in
Yeah.
charge of all the wildlife, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They the one put these here deer crossings where they're up in the wrong
Yeah.
places, where everybody runs over.
Yeah.
They won't move them out away from the people.
Them your neighbors out there shooting them crows with a BB gun.
Shoot them with a BB gun?
Yeah.
No, he shot, my neighbor's dog with a pellet gun so much, the dog died in my driveway up there.
Oh, Jesus.
So, what would happen, his wife would put food out there next to the yard for the dogs to come by and eat. And the day she didn't put any out, they come up there wandering around the house, and he'd shoot them with a pellet gun. So, they were shooting over a baited field was what it was.
In our neighborhood, we've got the dogs, but there's 2 or 3. You know what I'm talking about? These dogs, they got personality. They make certain rounds. You'll see them at certain places. And we got one, and we call him Blue. I don't know what his name is. He's one of these Australian type dogs.
Australian Shepherd.
Yeah, he's a friendly feller.
Yeah.
And I guess he's been in the neighborhood for a year or
Did
2.
he hop around on his back feet?
I don't know. He just
I was gonna
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sure it was a dog.
He ain't got a
okay.
little pouch now, has he?
No, that's okay. I see what you're saying. But our
That's
dogs,
them Australian dogs.
dogs got personalities. They recognize each other, and he comes by. He don't, our dogs and him, they say howdy or whatever,
Right,
romp a little bit,
right.
and he goes on about his business,
Right.
whatever. And he's got to set. He makes rounds. You'll see him at a certain time of day, and our dog's always glad to see him. They go out and say howdy and whatever.
Right.
And, I don't know how many there are around like that. They don't ever cause any problem.
Right.
They come through. Of course, they get
But
acquainted.
technically, those dogs are violating a city ordinance or a county ordinance because it says that dogs that must be on a leash anytime they're off of the property owner's property.
Well, now technically, Bob, there's a law that covers everything, even right down to the size of the nail you use to build your shelter.
Oh,
Even
yeah,
Vernon,
yeah.
That's
for
right.
watching
We got that
the
in Vernon
hillside.
ordinance
Yeah.
repealed, didn't we?
Yeah, but
You know what's interesting is that dogs have been doing DNA readings for thousands of years. It took humans forever to learn how to do a DNA reading.
You know how
And dogs have been doing them forever.
you know how to tell if there's a cold-nosed dog walks in, don't you? All the other dogs sit down.
Won't let him do a DNA reading.
Right. Definitely, they get a good reading every time they go by one
They
another.
even check humans out that
Right,
way.
yeah.
And once they do a DNA reading, they never forget. It's filed away forever.
Right,
yeah, they,
true. And that's exactly like a little genome, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't see any problem with the dogs or critters or whatever, as long as they're not aggressive, not hurting people or anything like that.
You're gonna have to admit,
I
some
don't
people
know.
just need to be bit.
I don't know, 7 little chicks could get mighty dangerous.
Yeah, especially-
All right, you think they
You
could
know,
attack somebody?
Terrorizing the community.
Yeah.
You reckon they already,
Run away from mom, they're out there
Yeah.
stealing candy
Yeah,
bars.
they'll be out of BB guns and hijacking stores next time.
Yeah.
might ought to have them chicks registered, you know, they may be deadly, dangerous or whatever.
Right.
I guess we're all products of our environment, of where we raise up, where we've grown up, and whatever. You know, years ago, we'd have never thought, or I don't know of anyone who would ever thought about anything about a chicken running around or whatever. It was part of the farm or whatever else, and the dog's the same way. If you had a dog that bites,
Right.
you let everybody know it.
Oh, yeah, dog
You know.
would eat eggs, you know,
Oh.
he took care of him,
Yeah,
didn't he?
dog that eats eggs and whatever, he don't last. His future don't look good.
When you were real little growing up, you always had to watch out for them roosters though.
Well,
You
yeah,
gonna mess around
we
with one of
had
them hens and get one of them roosters mad at you.
well, you know, if
You
you're
know-
a kid, go ahead.
When I was a little bitty feller, we had this here rooster. Every time I'd get out of the house, he'd take out after me. I mean, I was just a little bitty feller. And he run me. But we had rooster dumplings one Sunday. And that was as good a chicken as I ever had. I just
Appreciate
You
that.
enjoyed eating that one,
Yeah,
didn't you?
that's the truth. So help me. I just grinned over that old rooster. He tasted a lot better than he did when he was after me, I tell you. I ended up liking him. That's what I mean.
Roosters are bullies.
I know it.
They're bullies.
We had one that was like that, and of course, what you do is you try to figure out how to solve the problem. So what I did, I figured out how to use a broom handle. I cut me off a broom handle, and I guess it was about 3 foot long, and hold it down beside
Your
of
mama
me.
had to bend over to sweep the
Well-
floor after that.
Well, I kind of held it down beside of me. You know, you can egg these roosters on. You know what I mean? You can kind of run up and run away from them or whatever. And I got to go out and kind of egg him on a little bit, and then where you come by, I just like using him for a ball in a baseball game. And it did take him about 2 or 3 times. He didn't want to play no more.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine. I never had.
You learned that, rooster.
I never had a chicken to chase me, but I did, one time as a small kid. I was kind of 4 or 5 years old. Maybe 6. I probably had started school. And, my daddy gave me a baby pig to raise and look after. And, I didn't like the little pig too much, so I took and traded him for a billy goat. I led that billy goat home and put him in the lot. Before I get out of that lot, he about butted me. I mean, he just really hit me several good hard licks. And I got that rope back around his neck. I carried him back over and got my pig.
That sounded like my granddaddy one time. sold a milk cow to a friend of his who was a moonshiner for a gallon of moon. Traded the milk cow. My grandma was, where's that milk cow? And he said, oh, down there, you know. And told her who had the cow. She went down there and she told him demanded her cow back. And that guy said, now wait a minute, your husband traded that cow for a gallon of moon. She said, well, that's your problem. But I got 7 little babies at home, and I need my milk cow, and I'm taking it home. And she did.
Don't blame her one bit.
Women used to be pretty strong like that. Yeah, you know.
Don't blame her one bit. But, you know, my goats are escape artists.
Yeah,
They really
Boy.
are. They are escape artists. And
flying goats is what we got.
it took me quite a while to figure out exactly and get all of their mechanisms they were using to get over a 5-foot fence.
Now, is it true you've actually been cited by the county
Oh, I
law
was cited.
for having a goat get out of your yard?
Don't even get out in my yard. See, my fence runs right down along my neighbor's property line. I'm well inside my property, but they would get out, they'd jump over the fence, and then they'd go along the fence there and eat the vines off the fence that they couldn't get from the inside. And if somebody yelled at them, they'd come back up the driveway and go up the steps on my deck, and from the deck they could jump back over the fence into the lot.
And you had to go to court over this.
Oh yeah, well, what happens, so you have a sheriff that lives out there that doesn't want anything to disturb
A
him.
deputy
You
sheriff.
know,
A deputy sheriff.
deputy sheriff, he's a sheriff, but he's a deputy, he's not the sheriff, he is a sheriff, a deputy sheriff. And he lives like about 7, maybe 8 miles past my house. Well, somehow this neighbor got through to him on the phone to complain about my goats. Rather than letting the animal control agency handle it, he undertook it on himself that he was going to make me keep my goats up, or he was going to cite me to court. Well, they would get out, and I didn't know it, and they'd call me and say it was out, and I'd go back out, and they'd be back in the fence. I finally found out that they were climbing up on top of old doghouse, which was about 3 or 4 feet from the fence, and jumping off the top of that doghouse over the fence. So I moved the doghouse. Then they found a barrel that I had turned upside down, and they'd get up on top of that barrel and jump over that fence.
That's who moved the doghouse to the fence and then got out.
Yeah. Well, I asked him, I said, why don't you let the animal control handle this? He says, well, there's an ordinance against letting animals run loose. I said, well, I didn't allow them to run loose. I said, they took it on themselves. I said, animals have a mind of their own. Well, they threw it out in court. Okay, threw it out in court. And
Who was the judge on that case? Was that our session?
Joe,
There's
Joe Ayers. Okay.
Sessions judge.
So he threw it out. But what I was going to tell you, I talked to the animal control man about my goats getting out. He said, look, when I go home in the afternoon, my neighbor, who's a widow woman, has 2 little pygmy miniature goats, and that's what mine are, they're miniature goats. Says, and they get out every day, and I have to help her put them up when I get home in the afternoon. So there the animal control officer was helping his neighbor get her goats up, and he said they were out every day with no problem, but yet the sheriff, this deputy, who, as I want to mention, lives out past me, and comes to work about 10 o'clock in the morning, leaves for lunch, and he's driving a county vehicle now. Leaves for lunch right at about 12 o'clock and drives all the way back out to his house for lunch, which is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 miles round trip. Gets back, I see him a lot of times about 1:46. The last time I saw him, 1:45, going back to work, so he get there in time to get off at 4 o'clock. Which he goes in at 10, takes a 2-hour lunch break, gets off at 4 and goes home, so he's working about 4 hours a day and driving a
I
$50,000.
bet he drinks Dr. Pepper too, that 10, 2, and 4.
What?
I bet he drinks Dr.
Do you
Pepper,
think there-
that 10, 2, and 4.
Might be a county ordinance on misuse of government funds and resources?
Well, you know, you got a sheriff's election coming up this year. I don't know whether anybody's gonna run against the sheriff, which I happen to like the sheriff, and I went down there and talked to him about it. But evidently he has some, reluctance to confront this deputy, over his activities, you know, and,
It's hard to find a good goat wrangler, you don't wanna run them off.
you just can't, you see, he was.
You got a name, you got a name for this deputy?
He was,
Yeah, we don't
He was
wanna call it.
You don't wanna call it out?
he was a K-9 officer.
Oh, you mean his real name? Oh, well, man.
His, he ain't the high sheriff, he's the deputy sheriff. But he's a government employee.
Kind of a low
So,
sheriff.
it's not like we're saying anything bad about him, we're just expressing, his activities.
Right, well, he was a K-9 officer, and his dog died, and so he transferred. But I think he still has an affinity for animals, because he sure has took up with my goats mighty close.
Oh, okay.
He's not,
Maybe
he's
we
not
need
Muslim, is he?
we need a K-goat officer.
Yeah,
Listen, we got a commercial.
Oh, God, good.
right, do that.
Here it comes.
Yeah, we're gonna go into a break here, folks, so y'all hold your calls
Yes, I
a
hold
little
it.
bit.
Oh, well, maybe make sure.
A man's got over, I think, 40 years of experience in the ambulance business, and we just felt like it was well worthy of your time, their time, and our time to let you know something about this operation that they have going here. As you well know from previous words that I've said, that I have some actual experience with vital care, and so if you need to know some firsthand information about it, you can call me. But this is John Bond, and John, we'd like to welcome you to the 2 TV tonight. You know, we've been doing your commercial for a pretty good while, but we've never interviewed you.
That's right.
And we felt like it was just about time to let you spread some of your wisdom on these other people.
Well, we've been in business here for, soon be 5 years. I've got 40 years experience in the ambulance service. We have a Class A ambulance service with a good group of employees, 22, I believe, active employees, 22 employees that we pay for all on our own.
Well, those are not paid from taxpayer money.
No,
How much taxpayer money goes into this operation?
absolutely nothing.
Nothing. This is a self-sustaining operation.
That's correct.
Right. Well, let me ask you something. You know, we have an incubator program going here. Have you received any incubator funds?
I've not been notified that I'm due any,
Right. No, they haven't notified you that you're gonna get any.
and I don't look forward to it.
Right, okay.
We do all kinds of ambulance service. We're graded by the state as a Class A service. We can haul any kind of patients, we can go anywhere. We do a lot of non-emergency transports. We're the only service in Campbell County that has a ventilator, transport ventilator, that we can move patients that are on a ventilator out of the hospital to another hospital. We appreciate the opportunity to serve each and every one of our patients. We have some people that won't call anyone but us. If they ever call us once, they'll call again. But we love each and every one of our patients, and they seem to reciprocate and love it.
Okay.
All right.
That was easy.
We need to
I
say
can
anything
personally
about
vouch
Dixie
for every-
Concrete.
Yeah.
Nah, we ain't gonna do that.
We ain't gonna say
concrete
anything
stuff.
about Dixie Concrete.
Them fellas down there, they've been in the concrete business so long, everybody else tell anything about them.
Fellas, have you all noticed anything about the traffic light at Central and Indiana Avenue?
You know, they ain't been there in a while.
Well, I travel every day just about it, and I noticed that back a week or two ago, it was taken off of sensor and put on timer. And I don't know whether it was because of a malfunction or whether it was dead that way
Which one was that?
at Nevada, or Indiana, excuse me,
Okay.
Central Indiana. And on timer, usually when I come up there, there'll be somewhere around 15 vehicles stopped. Nothing crossing unless, you know, it's just whatever. But anyhow, what I was going to say, it may be back on sensor now. I just hadn't seen it there in the last day or two. But anyhow, our traffic lights, when they were put in, and I'd have to dig in to back this stuff up, but I'll tell you what I can remember. Our traffic lights are controlled out of Knoxville. If we want to rearrange, redo
This was
anything,
per Cliff Jennings.
per Cliff Jennings and Mr. Young or whoever was in charge at that time. But this was supposed to be a highly sophisticated, you name it, whatever, to where that they could turn all the lights green for the fire engines and all this stuff. But anyhow, working off of sensors, they work real good. In my opinion, a sensor is the best way to run a traffic light.
You know you supposed to stop traffic whether anybody wanting to enter the street or not.
Well, that's what a timer does.
I know.
It stops the traffic regardless.
You ought to be fair to every direction.
Even if there ain't nobody
Yeah,
driving.
yeah, that ain't fair to
out
any
there,
other way.
boy.
In other words, I like the way you said fair to direction, not fair to the driver, or
That's
to the
right.
traffic.
That's right.
But anyhow,
You be wanting to give fire trucks right away next thing you know.
yeah, I got a call, gentlemen. Okay, go ahead.
If you take on these traffic
Yeah, I'll
lights,
take care of it. All right, see,
the whole object of replacing those traffic lights originally was so they could put cameras on.
that is correct. That was the main purpose. But now, do you remember the reasonings they gave for that? And that was about a $200,000 project at first.
200,000.
Yeah, and then it was brought back down.
We still have to pay a
The
restock.
ex-mayor gave the reason, said that our traffic lights didn't all match each other. Now, and my question was, who goes through a town and looks at the traffic light?
Inventory and lights, make
Yeah,
sure
to
they
see
match.
if they all match. Who cares as long as they're red, orange, and green? Who cares what the traffic light looks like? It just serves a purpose. It's not there for cosmetics. But anyhow.
Well, that was the same people that brought us them there little curly-cued trees
Yeah.
sitting in the
Yeah.
barrel.
But-
But the barrel rotted and the trees died.
I guess that was the best reason they could come up with, that people wouldn't question so bad. But the primary reason, you're right, all the electronics and whatever was put in, and all this stuff was to put in cameras, you know, to where we could,
That's all they was.
that's the
Yeah,
only reason
I
for it
asked him,
whatsoever.
I asked him, I said, are you gonna install cameras on those new lights? When you get them up, he said, just as fast as I can. I said, well, are they gonna work like, they do in Knoxville? He said, well, I hope so. I said, well, in Knoxville, I said, they collected $600,000 in traffic fines. The people taking the pictures got $400,000 and the city got $200,000. He said, well, says it's all pure profit. That's what he said.
And nobody ever looked at the net flow of cash. If you've got 400,000 going out of the county, and you're getting, even if the city's getting two, they're worse off. At least they got enough sense to know
So
it.
that 400,000 stayed in the county, it made much more off the tax revenue,
Yeah.
than the 200,000, you know, everything said and done. So,
Anyhow, I believe, if I'm not mistaken at this time, we have a contract with some company that maintains the traffic lights and whatever else, and of course, this electronics. We're most likely still paying for this, for all the electronics that is involved in setting this up for the cameras. But
If we use
anyhow,
solar panels, it'd pay for
there
itself.
you go, solar panels up.
Oh,
Anyhow,
I'm still waiting for that. Speaking
If,
of solar panels, I'm still waiting to see that $166,000 check, Mr. Atkins. You and Jeff Marlowe and, William Beard and all you people that, swore up and down there this time last year that we had realized $166,000. It would bring in $166,000. Your words. And I'm still waiting to see that check, guys.
The solar panels, there's an article back a week or two ago. There's some company in Oak Ridge that's going to put in about 5 acres of solar panels on the old K-25 site. And they stated that site was not good for anything else due to the fact something about the footers or something that was underground there. My opinion is probably some other reason it's not good for
Probably
anything
something down
else.
there they didn't wanna,
Probably glows in the dark.
Probably
Glows
set
in the
free.
dark,
Glows in the dark.
That way they'll get, solar
yeah,
power
that,
being
they both.
24 hours a day.
They
There
ought to
you
be the
go.
only solar panels in the country that's got a solar panel on the top and the bottom both.
Right.
Well, radioactive panels.
Yeah,
Maybe we ought to patent that.
They've got deer down there, their nose glows more than old Rudolph, I tell you.
Glow in the dark.
Yeah.
If solar panels were feasible, the first thing you would see was all the local utility companies would be putting in solar panels rather than buying their electricity from TVA.
Do you remember when they were talking about putting in a switchgrass processing plant in, gonna make ethanol out of the switchgrass, and then we're gonna burn that ethanol, and we're gonna save a whole bunch of oil and money and stuff?
UT got a grant.
Well, let me tell you something. The only thing you can do with that, when you get right down to it, you do all that processing and then you burn the ethanol. Why don't you just burn the grass and you'll have 90-something% efficiency?
Exactly.
You can throw it in the
That's
furnace and
simple.
make electricity out of
That's
it.
too simple.
Bale that switchgrass and throw in a shovel full of hay every now and then.
Yeah, I've seen plans for a lot of furnaces that burn your round bales
Yeah.
of grass and straw, you know, and,
That
very,
is the
very,
same as cutting wood.
yeah, very, very efficient. I mean, because they use an afterburner on it, catalytic, process on it, and they get, like I say, 90-some% efficiency
Yeah.
out of what they're burning.
If you got, first off, if you got the same efficiency with the engine, which you can't, but if you got the same efficiency with the engine running on ethanol, as you get out of the furnace, you're only gonna get 90-something% of small fraction, because you done wasted 90% of your energy to get it to that
Getting
level.
it right, making ethanol, yeah.
When they measure energy, it's the net that counts. The net energy that you get out of, like coal. I don't see how in the world anyone, or how the TVA can produce a kilowatt for, say, 9 cents per kilowatt. If you consider what it costs to get coal out of the ground, the coal process, right now in Tennessee, it takes about 5 years to get a permit.
Yeah, I know.
In
That's
Kentucky,
thanks to Mr. Alexander.
and some,
Yeah.
he's not alone. There's a lot that goes along with that.
Yeah.
But in Kentucky, you can get a permit in about a year. But the point I'm trying to make is, first of all, anyone going after coal, you got to find the coal where it's at. You got to go to where it's at. If you don't own it, you got to get some sort of an agreement with property owners. Then you've got to get it out of the ground, which means equipment, labor, whatever. Then you've got to get it to the steam plant.
And then you gotta reclaim the whole.
You got to reclaim the hole. You got to. There's no end to all this stuff. Then you got to store the ash, of course. And then after you
And then you
produce
gotta
it,
clean up the river when the ash gets in
Well,
the store.
after you produce it, then
Escapes.
you have to have the power lines, the transmission lines, in order to send it back. So, and every one of these people, whenever you get up into, well, the coal miners probably don't have all the benefits, but everybody from there on, from the TVA to the utilities and everyone else, has every one of the benefits that's out there, health benefits, retirement, and whatever else. And I don't understand how in the world that they can do this and get the energy back for 9 cents a kilowatt. And of course,
Well,
like
that's
in
why
New
we're
York-
using 12 is a baseline for solar panels, ain't it?
Well,
It's volume.
uh,
It's all about volume. It's like, the more concrete, these concrete sells,
yeah.
the lower you can,
I've
lower
heard
the
that.
price,
I've
the
heard-
lower the price
I've
of
heard that.
cubic foot of concrete.
I've heard that theory before, and they've tried to sell me that on that if you'll buy 10,000 yards, we can sell it for free. You can't do that. I mean,
Well, not for free, but you can lower your price
not really,
a little.
not really.
Well,
Let me back, this is a false theory. Producing concrete, producing coal or whatever else, for them to take that ton of coal out of there and for them to transport it, every ton of that costs them the same price to transport and to get out. Same way with concrete. Whenever you buy the products and put it in there to make 1 yard of concrete or make 100 yards, the only difference is 100 yards, it costs you 100 times as much to produce it. So, if you go to
Well,
that,
you obviously never heard of the assembly line theory of concrete production.
if you go to that theory, once you reach a certain point,
Where's Henry Ford when you need him?
yeah.
He live with me.
Well,
you
if you
can sell
would
it
put
for
a
free.
damper on Henry Ford, he never would have come out with a steam oven.
Yeah, but
You
anyhow,
just discourage a man.
the
Let me
Hey, I
slip
guess
one comment in here,
We
real
may be
quick.
off, I don't know.
A real
I
quick,
don't know.
real quick comment.
It may be too
This
late.
goat problem should be a solution to our litter problem. You know, instead of our lawmen looking at this goat situation as a problem, we ought to look at it as a solution. Don't you think, Bob?
I think we went off, they just didn't tell us.
Oh,
We're still on the internet.
you know, that's a good point. Whenever you come back down to it, we all have the